and welcome to our Study in Sweden Google Hangout. We are now live. Thanks a lot for joining us, everybody. My name is Douglas Washburn, and I work here at the Swedish Institute with basically promoting Sweden as a study destination. You might have been taking part in some of our previous Google Hangouts. Today, we are focusing on answering your questions about our scholarships, the Swedish Institute Study Scholarships, to be specific. And we are joined here today by my colleague Ulrika, who works specifically with our scholarships. So she can answer all your questions that you might have and you might be wondering. I'm going to pass over to Ulrika to introduce herself briefly.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. My name is Ulrika Lundström. I work here at the Swedish Institute as a program administrator for the Swedish Institute Study Scholarships. And I also handle questions regarding all of the scholarships.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ulrika. So just to clarify for everyone today who's listening exactly what the focus is today. The Swedish Institute, we're part of the Swedish government, and we have some scholarships for international students. I know from taking part at fairs that probably the number one question a lot of you has is what kind of scholarships are available? How do I apply for them? So our focus today is going to be on the scholarships we have for highly qualified master's students. We have a few different scholarship programs that Ulrika is going to talk about later. But just to clarify again, the focus today is on scholarships for master's students, specifically students from developing countries on the DAC list or OECD list. We're really happy to have this Google Hangout for you now because just to clarify, we've actually recently changed the procedure, the application procedure for you. So I think it's really good for us to clarify some of the changes to answer any last minute questions you guys might have about the scholarships. So we've been getting a lot of questions already. We will try to get through all of them today. But I think I'll pass over to the star of the day, Ulrika, to give you a brief run through about the Swedish Institute study scholarships and actually all our scholarships in general.
Okay, so we put together a PowerPoint presentation for you all to be able to follow. So like I said, my name is Ulrika Lundström. I work as a program administrator for the scholarship programs, specifically the Swedish Institute Study Scholarships. We have 4 main programs that we offer scholarships for. It's the Visby program, Western Balkan, the Swedish Turkish program, and then the one I'm responsible for, the Swedish Institute Study Scholarships. I know there might be some of you listening who are interested in the Turkish, Western Balkan, or Visby program. We will do a Google Hangout on these in January with one of my colleagues who will be able to answer all of your questions. For now, we're going to focus on the study scholarship. And so because we are a government agency, we are dependent on the funding that we get from the government. This year, we will be able to offer approximately 300 scholarships. Last year, we were only able to offer scholarships to students from Syria and South Africa, unfortunately. But for those of you who are wondering how competitive this program is, the year before, we had around 400 scholarships and about 7,000 applicants. So it's a highly competitive scholarship. So who of you are eligible to apply? First of all, you have to come from one of the countries on the OECD's DAC list, and DAC stands for Development Assistance Committee, I think. And so if you Google that, you will find a complete list of countries that belong to this list. You will also be able to find on our webpage other countries that are belong. The one rule is...
Sorry, Ulrika, for interrupting. I think we might be having some issues with the screen sharing. So I'm just going to stop the screen sharing and see if we can get on the right slide here, because we're not really sure what's going on. Right. Let's go back to it. All right, sorry for
Try
that.
again.
Hopefully this works for you guys. We will do our best to get.
Yeah, we apologize for any technical difficulties. So as I was saying, the one rule of the eligibility criteria for country specifically is that if you come from one of the countries on the OECD duck list that is covered in one of our other scholarships program, then you have to apply to that scholarship program and not to the study scholarships. So just see and look through if your country is part of one of the other scholarship programs, the three I mentioned: Turkey, Western Balkan, and BSB. Excuse me. And if not, then you're welcome to apply to the study scholarships. We do not have an age limit. Applicants of all ages are welcome to apply as long as you have completed at least a bachelor's degree. What we have introduced this year is that you have to have at least 2 years of work experience or the equivalent of 2,800 hours. We say 2,800 hours because we know some of you work more than 40-hour weeks. So as long as you fulfill either of those two requirements, you're eligible to apply. You must also be able to demonstrate that you have some kind of leadership experience. And this can be either in a management position or in a voluntary position. But as long as you are able to explain to us what you have done that put you in a leadership position, then you're eligible. You must also, this is very important, you must also apply to one of the eligible programs within the master's programs that is uploaded on our webpage. Only these programs will be acceptable when you apply for a scholarship. I will tell you more about this later. We have a lot of questions from you, what the scholarship includes. And so it does not include the 900 kroner application fee. However, it does include, should you be selected, the Swedish Institute will pay for your tuition fee, and this will be paid directly to the university. We will also give you a 9,000 kroner monthly stipend, which is supposed to cover your costs, such as rent and food, whatever books you might need to buy, as well as spending money. We will give you a one-time travel grant, which will help you travel back into and from Sweden during your studies. And you will also be insured with the state insurance company called Kammarkollegiet during your entire stay here. So that's what you will get if you get a scholarship. And so we have a lot of questions regarding the difference between university admissions and the Swedish Institute. University admissions is a different government agency, and they handle all of the applications when you apply for a master's program to a Swedish university. The Swedish Institute only handles scholarship applications. And so what you have to do is that you have to be in touch with both university admissions and the Swedish Institute. You have to apply for a master's program with university admissions, and then you have to apply for a scholarship with the Swedish Institute.
So I think we're having to maybe go in and out basically each time we show new slides here.
That's fine. So a new slide?
Yep.
Okay, so we will go into deadlines. I hope you all are able to see this or at least follow my explanation. Here are the deadlines. The deadline to apply for a master's program is January 15th, 2016, and you do this at university admissions. If you haven't applied for a master's program, then you can't get a scholarship. The first selection step for the Swedish Institute Study Scholarship is open now and is up on our webpage, and it will close January 20th. And then we will go through the applications and select the successful candidates who can proceed to the second selection step. And they will then do a second application. And this application step will be open from the 8th to the 13th of February. Excuse me. Successful candidates will be notified first week of February at the latest if they have proceeded to the second selection step. If you haven't heard from us by 8th of February, you unfortunately have not proceeded to the second selection step. We will not be able to let everyone know, everyone who has applied know if they have proceeded or not. We will only be able to notify those of you who have continued on to the second selection step. Okay, so I hope you're able to see this because this is the important slide.
Let me just make sure it's working because we had issues before here. Let's see. Okay, let's see. I'm just gonna make sure it's working. I think it is right now. Okay, sorry.
Okay, and so what you do is you first apply for a master's program at universityadmissions.se. And then once you have done this, then you can either go to www.si.se or www.studyInSweden.se. When you do this, you find the scholarship page. And then, let's see. Perfect.
Okay, I think it's
okay. And once you get to this page or the Study in Sweden page, you find the scholarship page, which you do by pressing here. You scroll down and find information on Swedish Institute Study Scholarships. Press the link. Please make sure to read through all of this information carefully, as most of your questions are actually answered here. Here, if you click this link, you will be able to find the eligible master's programs that you can apply for. You can also find the OECD DAC list if you're unsure of where your country belongs to. You can also find other selection criteria. Okay, and then when you get to the application procedure, make sure to click. Make sure to read through all of this information. And then you will find information on the first selection step and the second selection step. I will show you how to apply for the second selection step in just a second. Should you proceed to the second selection step, you can find documents that will be required below. We need you to fill out documentations according to the templates that we will upload on this webpage in January. This is where you will find the document that you need to ask a reference to fill out, and it is also the documents that will show you how to verify your work experience. Sorry. But so to go to the first selection step, if you have not yet applied, you press here and you get to this webpage. Okay, so first time you've been to this webpage, you've never seen it. You start off by clicking New User, and then you enter your name. So I will write Ulrika Lundström. I will type in my password, which I will select to be cats and dogs. Cats and dogs. Sorry, just kidding. So Ulrika, and then password. Repeat your password. this is where you enter
Ulrika, can the username be anything? Does it have to be anything in
the username
particular?
can be anything that you remember.
Okay.
It is important that your first name is your real name, though, because this is what we will use when having contact with you. And then my email. Create user. And because my user is already included, I will go here and then I will press login. Perfect. You go new application and you want to apply for the study scholarship step 1. Please read through all the application instructions. And then you will just continue to go through the application. If you encounter one of these, it's smart to press the blue question mark because there you will find additional information. And so when it says personal application number, this is where you will enter the 7-digit application number that you have received from university admissions when you applied for a master's program.
So do I understand correctly that they need to have applied to university admissions first, have that
Yes.
number, and then the scholarship? Okay.
Exactly. And as you can see, if you haven't yet applied for a master's program at university admissions, you can click save, and then this application will be under my applications. And so it says not yet submitted. So you can just go in here. You can go to university admissions, apply to the programs you want to apply to, and then return here and continue.
Okay, great.
So you don't need to submit it at the same time. You can save and continue working on it later. It is not finished until you hit submit.
Okay, wonderful.
Yes. I think those are all the things I have to say. Do you want to do questions?
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Wonderful. So we've had a lot of questions from you guys here actually before we get started. So we're going to go through these questions shortly. But before we do that, I'm going to go through some of the questions we got in advance here. And I know speaking to a lot of you at fairs often have kind of the same questions. And one of them, Ulrika, is what do the students need for the first step? Do they need to send in any documents whatsoever?
So for the first selection step, the only thing you need to do is fill out this application form that I just showed you, that you can get by visiting the study scholarship website under application procedure. That is all you need to do for the first selection step. And then if you're selected to continue on to the second selection step, then you find a list of the documents that you need to submit for the second selection step. But for the first selection step, only that application.
Yeah, and no other documents.
No other documents.
Okay, excellent, thank you. Another question here is how do students verify their work or volunteer experience, and do you guys count basically any form of volunteer or internship experience?
So to start off with your first question, on our website under application procedure, where you see what documents are required, in January we will upload templates which you will need to print and fill out. This is the templates that will say how you're going to verify your work experience and your volunteer experience. And as far as what you can count towards your work experience. We will accept any and all types of work experience. It can be, say, if you were the head of your student union, you can include those hours that you actively put into this. If you worked at an after-school program every Wednesday for 4 years, you can include those hours.
Okay.
So any part-time work, any full-time work, any volunteer work.
Okay, basically. Good. And to verify that, the document they need is just some letter basically confirming they've worked there for X number of hours? Or?
No. So
okay.
It's a document that we will upload, that it'll be one reference letter where you will be, we will ask you to ask one person who know you to fill it out, who know you professionally to fill it out and answer your questions in that document. And then there will also be one document where we will ask you to write down all the work experience that you have.
Okay. I have quite a few more questions, but you've been waiting very patiently, and we have lots of questions. So I have some questions I'd like to go back to later, but we're going to start addressing some of the questions you have here. So to start off here, we have a question from Ian. Ian from Vietnam. Ian is a Vietnamese native and has been studying in Finland for the past 3 years. Ian graduated last month and would like to apply for the SI study scholarships. Is he eligible?
Hi, Ian. Yes. You are eligible to apply if you have a previous master's degree. I will, however, say that if you hold a master's degree from a European country or a country belonging to the group of OECD countries, then we will not prioritize your application. We will give priority to those applicants who have yet to study abroad, because we want to give as many people as possible an opportunity to study abroad.
Okay. And then, thank you. Related to this, I guess, somewhat, is a question here from Abel Johannes. And Abel says that in the SI application, it asks for any connection to Sweden, work, study, or even family related. And will anyone be disqualified if they have a family or friend in Sweden?
No. Having a previous family connection to Sweden will not disqualify you. We will take whatever answer you give into account with the rest of your application. It'll all be judged in combination with all of your other answers, but it is definitely not something that you will be disqualified for, nor will you be disqualified if you don't have a previous Sweden connection. We are asking this question because we are interested in knowing who of our scholarship holders have a previous connection to Sweden and how they found that.
Excellent, thank you. One question from me now, and the question is about how do you select the successful candidates, and do you basically have any tips for parts of the application in the second step that students should put more time into?
So what we are looking for are students who are able to demonstrate leadership potential and who show an interest in returning home after they have finished their master's degree here in Sweden, to work on continuing to develop their home country. And students are able to point towards how and what they would like to do when they return home and how they would like to improve their home country. Will definitely be more interesting for us.
Wonderful. We have a question here that's got a lot of likes, and this is a question again from Abel, and it's regarding the leadership experience, which is now a requirement. well, it says leadership experience is required along with the work experience. And the question is this leadership experience mandatory? And the second part of the question is, what activities are considered to be leadership experience in our eyes?
Right. So yes, leadership experience is mandatory. You have to be able to demonstrate having some kind of leadership experience. And as I mentioned previously, it can be you being the head of your student union. It can be, say you held a job where you had a management role. So any type of leadership experience, really. And we're looking for someone who can show that they have a role as a leader. And if you've read on our webpage, scholarship holders who are accepted will become part of the Swedish Institute Network for Future Global Leaders. And so this is where we aim to promote your sense of leadership skills and develop this while you're studying in Sweden.
Okay, great. We have a question here from Dean Trong. And Dean has, sounds like, a lot of volunteer experience. Though Ding is studying finance and is a bit unsure if this is one of the programs covered by the SI scholarship, SI study scholarships. How can Ding or other students that are wanting other programs they're studying confirm that?
Well, so I'm not sure if I understand your question. It sounds excellent that you have volunteer and social work in various fields. What we are looking for in a candidate is a candidate who is able to show some kind of consistency that has a common thread throughout their life. This doesn't mean that someone who has studied investment for their bachelor's and then would like to study say leadership or management for their master's will be disqualified, because we're looking at all the answers to your application to see where your interest lies and how your life follows itself, so to say. And as long as you're accepted to one of the eligible master's programs through university admissions, then we consider you to be interesting.
Maybe we can, do you think we can briefly go to the website again and show them where they find the list of eligible master programs?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Let's check that out here.
Right. And so we go back up here where you have found the scholarship and grants on the Swedish Institute website. And then you click on the Swedish Institute Study Scholarships page. You go down. Selection and eligibility criteria. You see here it says eligible master's program. Click it. Eligible programs. If you click this list, you will be able to see all of the programs. This is 600 programs that you have to choose from, so we're hoping you'll be able to find something that applies to you. And any of these programs you can apply to at university admission and then apply for a scholarship too.
Okay, great, thanks. And is there any reason why certain programs might be excluded from that list? Because 600 is obviously a lot of programs. It's almost, we have around 1,000 in total, I think.
And so, as I said, the study scholarship aims towards finding scholarship holders who are interested in becoming future leaders, helping in the development of their home country. And the programs that we have excluded are programs that we feel maybe aren't that relevant to development in your home country.
Okay, excellent, thanks. So we have a question from Marcella Montana here. And Marcella was wondering, how many scholarships do we grant each year, and how many people apply for the scholarships?
Right. So it changes a little bit every year. Because last year we were only able to grant scholarships to students from South Africa and Syria. Obviously, that was a special case year. This year we will grant approximately 300 scholarships. And we reckon that we don't know how many will apply this year, but 2014 or 13, it was about 7,000 people who applied. So it's definitely a competitive scholarship.
Do you think we can go through the categories briefly and just explain them? I don't think we need to show the website. Just so you understand, we have 3 different categories for the SI study scholarships, but I think Ulrika can explain this more clearly than I can.
The study scholarships aims towards having as wide of a spread geographically as possible. So we don't just accept 300 students from, say, Bangladesh. We try to accept as many students from as many different countries as possible. But because our funding is from the government, and the government of Sweden have certain countries that they prioritize, we have divided it up into 3 categories. Category 1 are 20 countries that the Swedish government is currently prioritizing cooperation with. Category 2, you have the special initiatives with Syria and South Africa. Special initiatives with them are because Sweden and South Africa has something called the Binational Commission, which is a cooperation that we are focusing on a lot right now. And Syria is for the devastating situation in Syria that we would like to assist with as much as possible. There are some other countries part of category 2 as well. And then in category 3 is the remaining countries on the DAC list. Yeah, and all of this you can find on our webpage. You can see what countries belong to which different category.
Okay, great. Nice, thanks. We've had some questions from students wondering about basically the program they're studying. We have a question here, for example, from Marcella Montana again. Marcella's academic background is in psychology, and Marcella is wondering if it's okay to choose life sciences in the application form or to put something else. Do you give any advice to students who are wondering what specific box to check for their academic program?
We don't. We try to avoid it because we feel that it would create an unfair advantage to those students who have their questions answered as opposed to students who may not think about emailing us. We think that each student should try to select whatever option they feel is most appropriate to their situation and their case. Yeah.
Okay, great, thanks. We have a few more questions here too, I think, which we've actually addressed a bit earlier, but I think we can ask them again one more time. Actually, we'll take a different question first here. And the question is from Vivek Kasar, who's wondering, what isn't 2 years of work experience or 2,800 hours? Can you just clarify again in case anyone is wondering exactly what's required for the 2 years of full-time work experience? Thanks.
Neither or both. If you fulfill one of the 2 situations, then you're eligible. Say if you have worked for 40-hour weeks for 2 years, then you are eligible to apply. Say if you haven't worked for 2 years, but you have worked for several hours overtime, and you've worked long weeks where you have, when you combine the hours that you have worked, becomes more than 2,800 hours, then you're also eligible to apply. On our webpage, under eligibility criteria, we have a couple of different scenarios that shows how you can calculate the hours. But the rule is that as long as you fulfill either of the 2 years or the 2,800 hours, then you're still eligible to apply.
Okay, great. Thank you. So we have a question here from Marvin, and this is something we addressed earlier as well, but I think Ulrika gets a lot of questions about this. And this is in regard to the application process and what to do first. Marvin is wondering, hello, do I need to apply to the individual universities in stage 1? Can
Okay,
you
so
clarify this for
absolutely.
everyone? This is important, so make sure you follow this instructions.
Sweden has a centralized admissions system. We have one exception, which is Stockholm School of Economics. If you go to their website or contact them directly, they will explain their process to you. But in general, you go to www.universityadmissions.se, and there you can search and go through all the different programs that you want to apply to. You will add those programs to your application. I think maximum you can apply for 4 different programs. And then you will submit one application. You will rank the programs in the order that you're interested in them, and university admissions will accept you to the top choice that you are qualified for. We also get a lot of questions asking how many times you have to pay the application fee. You only pay once per application. So this means that you can select 4 different master's programs and still only pay 1 application fee. And once you have applied to university admissions, you will get an application number, which will then allow you to apply for the scholarship. And in the first selection step of the scholarship, you will only submit 1 application. Should you proceed to the second selection step, then you will submit 1 scholarship application for each eligible program that you have applied for. But in the first selection step, you only submit 1 application to the Swedish Institute and 1 application to university admissions.
Great, thank you. Yeah, that's really important, so I hope everyone understands that. We've had quite a few questions about PhD programs in Sweden. And I think we can just clarify for everyone who's wondering about PhD positions in Sweden that, so first off, the scholarships we're talking about today, the SI study scholarships, these are for master's students. Our organization, the Swedish Institute, we do have a few scholarships for PhD programs, and you can correct me, Ulrika, if I'm wrong here, but I think the scholarships we have for PhD students are part of the VISB, Western Balkan and Turkey. Yeah. So just to clarify, VISB is Belarus, Georgia, Moldova, Russia, and Ukraine.
There's also some other countries specifically for PhD candidates, but you can find the different categories on our website, and we can also ask my colleague to discuss this more in the Google Hangout in January. But these are very specific, and we do not offer PhD positions to a lot of countries.
And yeah, thanks. And it's also important for you guys to know that on the study of a program database for all programs in English at the bachelor level and the master's level, we don't have a similar database for PhD positions. And that's just because right now the universities basically don't have this information they can send us. So that means if you are interested in a PhD program, it's certainly possible to do a PhD program in Sweden. You do receive a salary when you have a PhD position, so it's treated more like a job. About 1/3 of our PhD students are international students. So we do have a lot of international students coming here to do a PhD, but it's going to require much more work from your side because there's no national database. So basically, you guys need to go to the individual universities' websites and try to find these positions. And usually they're listed as job postings on their websites. Do you have anything else you want to add about PhD?
No, I think the best suggestion is to contact each university specifically that you were interested in.
Okay, great. Let's see. One detail for you,
Right.
Ulrika. Can students send in everything electronically? Do they have to send by mail, by post?
No.
Anything?
No, we prefer it electronically. We want everything to arrive electronically. So please submit everything via the application portal.
Okay, great. Thanks. And when will they find out if they have received a scholarship?
Right, so unfortunately, we do apologize for this, but we are only able to notify successful candidates. And so successful candidates will find out if they have proceeded from the first selection step, first week of, and then successful candidates who proceed from the second selection step will be published on our webpage in, I think, end of March or early April. It says on our webpage.
Mm-hmm. I have one maybe tricky question.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a question here from Jonas Attilus. Jonas is from Haiti and has roughly 5,000 hours for the last 2 years as a medical intern. In the form, he selected 3,000 hours twice, but he doesn't want to confuse us and risk having his application thrown out. He also did these in Mexico and France and not at home. So I guess kind of 2 questions. The first one is regarding the what should he do about that, if anything? And the second one then is doing the internship not in his home country, but somewhere else, if that has any bearing on the application.
Right. So I think if we start off with the second part of that question, there is a step, a question in the first application asking if you have work experience from abroad. So just fill that out. And for your first part of the question, if you have submitted your application and realize that you've done something tremendously wrong, then you are able to submit a second application, and we will assess the application that you submitted last. However, please only do this if it's absolutely necessary, as we are already having quite a few number of applications.
Excellent, thank you. We have actually 2 students who have asked about the work experience again. So I'm going to select one of these here from Vivek Kasar. Can you please briefly describe again how to confirm the work experience?
Right, and so for the first selection step, you will only need to fill out the questions in that application form. Should you be selected to continue on to the second selection step, we will ask you to submit documents. All of these documents will be uploaded on our application page. The documents where you will need to verify your work experience will most likely be one document asking a professional reference of yours to fill out a letter of recommendation answering specific questions. We do not accept generic recommendations letters or one that has been used previously. It must be in our template where they answer specifically the questions we have asked.
So just in case any of you are wondering, then what do students do if they have, for example, 2 internships for a total of 2 years? They need one reference that can verify both those different positions? Or how
they need one reference from the person that they feel know them best or is able to give the most accurate description of them. Then the second document that we will ask, because many of you have said that you have the required number of hours, but you have it from many different positions. And so what we will do is that we will ask you to fill out a document according to the template that we will upload on our website, where we will ask you to fill out all the different positions you have held that contributes to your work experience requirements. And we will also ask you to fill out what this position was and who the reference or the contact person for that job is. But again,
Okay.
this document will be uploaded on our website.
Yeah. So then, just to be clear to all of you, and if I understand this correctly, they don't need a specific reference from each position. They do need to list a contact person
Yes.
for each position, but they do not need a specific reference for each job.
No.
Okay. Great. In case you're wondering. Wonderful. Thanks, Luca. A question here. We've spoken a little bit about the number of SI study scholarships available and the different categories. But I think some students might be wondering if there is some kind of set number of scholarships available in these different categories for certain countries, if they're competing strictly against students from their own country. How does that process work?
Right. So because the Swedish Institute tries to achieve as wide of a geographical spread as possible, we have divided the scholarships into different countries. And so category 1 will compete between themselves for 100 scholarships. And we will aim to have these countries divide the 100 scholarships between them. And in category 2, it works the same way. This means that in category 3, there are more countries to compete for the 100 scholarships than there are, say, in category 1. And as I said previously, this has to do with priorities from the government. But the thing to keep in mind is that we will definitely try to select the best candidates, but we do have to consider trying to get as many candidates from as many different countries as possible.
Okay, great, thanks. Another question here we've been receiving is about other scholarships available, in particular about scholarships provided by individual universities. Because just to be clear to you guys, that the Swedish Institute, we do have the largest pool basically of national scholarships for master's students, but there are other scholarship programs and scholarships available for you. In particular, scholarships offered by the individual universities. Do you have any tips, Ulrika, on the best way for students to find these from the individual universities?
I would say to contact the international coordinator at each individual university. Or you can visit our website at www.studyinsweden.se and look under scholarships.
Yeah. Yeah, just to be clear for everyone, if you go onto our website about scholarships, we do divide it up into the Swedish Institute scholarships and the university scholarships. And then you have to kind of do the research yourself. And we don't have information, for example, if you're wondering where you can find specific scholarships related to social sciences or things like that. It's up to you guys to go into the individual universities that you're interested in to try to find these scholarships. Of course, there's tons of different scholarship resources available for you, lots of different resources, but we can't be kind of a one-stop shop for all the scholarships available in the world. But we do try to do our best compiling information from universities, things like that. Ulrika, how do you approach students who have dual citizenship? Either, let's say, a student who is from a country on the DAC list has dual citizenship either in a European country or perhaps in Sweden.
So students who say, for example, have a citizenship from Congo, but also have a French citizenship, you are welcome to apply if you have a citizenship from the Congo. However, I would not recommend it, because the thing is, what you have to do is you have to apply with the same citizenship at university admissions as you do for your scholarship. And if you apply with your first citizenship, then you will have to pay the application fee, and should you be accepted, you will be required to pay the tuition fee. However, if you apply with, say, your French citizenship, then you do not need to pay the application fee, and should you be accepted into the master's program, you will not need to pay the tuition fee. And so while I understand that many of you need the full scholarship because you also need the monthly stipend, considering how fierce the competition is, my advice to you is to apply as using your European citizenship, because the competitiveness of the scholarship is really strong, and you're much more likely to be accepted to a university program. And then you don't have to pay any unnecessary fees.
Excellent, thanks. Yeah, so just to clarify for everyone, in Sweden, we have tuition fees for students outside the EU or EEA area, but any student that has citizenship within that area, with part of the EU, an EEA country, you do not have to pay tuition fees. All right, so I'm going. We have a lot of questions here, but lots of them are in regards to things we've already addressed. PhD positions, for example.
While Douglas is going through that, I saw one question asking if you found your country on the OECD deck list, are you eligible to apply? Yes, as long as you fulfill the other eligibility requirements, such as work experience and leadership experience, and your country is not part of the countries that can apply for the VSP program, the Western Balkan, or the Turkish program, yes, then you're eligible to apply.
Okay, great. And I know you addressed this earlier. We have two questions regarding the same thing. Students who have a master's degree who have studied in Europe previously. If you can repeat how we deal with those students.
Right. So you are absolutely welcome to apply. However, what we have decided is that we will prioritize those students who have yet to receive a master's degree from a European country. We want to give the opportunity to as many people as possible to have an international master's education. And so if you have already received a master's degree from a European country, then we will not prioritize it.
Okay. But they should still apply because they have a chance, or?
Again, it's a highly competitive scholarship. It all depends on the competition from the other applicants. And you are welcome to apply, but depending on how badly you want it, you have to consider the application fee.
Okay. We have a student here. I think we have maybe time for one more question here. Dean. And Dean has work experience or leadership experience from the Students' Union. And Dean is wondering if he or she is at a disadvantage compared to those who have leadership experience at work.
So this is a tricky question. I would say that it's not a clear-cut answer. It all depends on how you're able to motivate your leadership experience and how it relates to the rest of your experience. So my answer is it depends.
Excellent. I think we've addressed nearly every question you guys have had. So I think the way we can finish up, well, first off, thanks everyone for taking part and for your questions. I hope we've been able to kind of help for you here. Ulrika, if they have future questions that they haven't had a chance to ask, how would you recommend that they contact you and your colleagues?
You can either email us at scholarships@si.se at this email address, SI scholarships at si.se, or you can find our Facebook page. You can go in, like our Facebook page, and then ask your questions there, and we will do our very best to answer this question.
And the Facebook page
Is called
um,
Swedish Institute Scholarships for Studies and Research.
Swedish Institute Scholarships for Swedish Institute Scholarships for Studies and Research. And if you guys missed anything we said, this hangout is going to be available on YouTube shortly. So don't panic if you forgot to write something down or wondering what the email address was or the Facebook pages. You can always find that online afterwards at our YouTube account or from our Google Plus page as well. Well, yeah, thank you very much for taking part, everybody. We will get back to you with another hangout, I think, speaking in more detail about the Visby, Western Balkan, and Turkey scholarships. Ulrika, anything to add for people?
Thank you very much for listening.
All right, thank you guys. Bye-bye.